Hi, this is Joby Provido, and you're listening to Contemplating the Rosary, where we talk about how to pray the Holy Rosary even better. In 104 episodes, over 4 seasons, we will explore a method of how to say the Rosary the way Pope St. John Paul II, Pope Paul VI, and other Rosary advocates recommend, and that's by contemplating the mysteries while we say the Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory Be. This podcast is based on the book Beyond the Veil, Contemplating the Mysteries of the Holy Rosary, available at Lazada in the Philippines and in print or Kindle on Amazon, wherever you are. Visit kindlingspress.com for more information and where you can read and download the episode guide. This is episode 21. I'm so happy you can be with me again as we explore the contemplative way of praying the Rosary. Today, we'll finish exploring the sorrowful mysteries with the crucifixion. Let's imagine the scene when Jesus arrives at the top of Mount Calvary. Simon of Cyrene is carrying the cross for him because our Lord was too weak to finish the climb up. At the summit, the soldiers take the cross from Simon and lay it on the ground. They release Simon from his commission and he leaves immediately. The soldiers offer our Lord some wine laced with myrrh. It was meant to be a narcotic that was offered to criminals that were about to be crucified. It was a small mercy so that it would numb the senses and as a result lessen the pain. Our Lord, who must have been very thirsty, tasted a bit of it, but when he realized the wine was drugged, he refused to take any more. At Gethsemane, he showed his humanity in the struggle to accept the will of the Father in asking him to undergo this humiliating and painful passion. He had to pray 3 times, was ministered by an angel, and fought with every tooth and nail of his will to obey the Father. His body became one with his spirit to undergo this suffering for the salvation of humankind. In a sense, he drank from the bitter cup that the Father gave him. So why would he drink from another cup that would only drive a wedge between his body and spirit? In the end, we should contemplate on our Lord who wanted to endure suffering without the help of narcotic agents, so that each arduous second can be a conscious offering to the Father. Going on to the crucifixion, first they had to remove the clothes of our Lord, which they did. One of the clothes he wore was a seamless tunic. This should remind us of the seamless tunics that priests in the temple used when performing official sacrificial rituals. Our Lord on Calvary was about to perform the ultimate sacrifice ritual as the high priest and victim at the same time. Without his clothes, Jesus is naked, just like the naked Adam who represented all of humankind when he disobeyed God in Eden. Our Lord is stripped of locality. He is now a naked universal man who can represent all of humankind in his obedience to God on Calvary. As we said in the previous episode, according to historians who study Roman crucifixion, the vertical beam was already planted on the ground on Calvary, so only the crossbeam was carried by the condemned. The soldiers positioned Jesus on top of the crossbeam. There are 2 semi-drilled holes on both ends of the crossbeams. The Romans did this so that it would be easier to drive an iron nail through the thick wood. The hands of our Lord are still fastened to ropes, 1 rope per hand. The soldiers pull on 1 rope to position Christ's hand over the semi-drilled hole. Another soldier uses a hammer to drive the nail through the hand of our Lord. The Shroud of Turin suggests that the nail entered nearer the wrist and would have hit the median nerve that causes the thumb to fold inward. Since the nail is in constant contact with this nerve, any movement of the crossbeam, however small, sends painful impulses into the nervous system. When that was done, the soldiers pull on the rope of the other hand to position it over the other semi-drilled hole. Many mystics who were given a vision of the crucifixion described that this hole was too far. The only way for the other hand of our Lord to reach it was for the soldiers to pull hard enough and dislocate his shoulder bone from its socket. If this is indeed what happened, everyone witnessing this moment would have heard a snap. With Christ's hand in the proper position, the soldier tasked to nail it can now finish his job. With a few blows, the nail goes through our Lord's hand and exits the wood behind it. Another thing that mystics tell us is that the soldiers needed to secure the nails so that it wouldn't slip out of the wood. The only way they could do that was to flip the criminal so that his face was on the ground, the crossbeam on top, and the pointy parts of the nails facing upward. Then they would bend the exposed pointy parts of the nail by hammering sidewards. If this is indeed what happened, we must imagine how they would have done this. They would have had to raise one side of the crossbeam and flip it, and our Lord would come crashing down with his face first. We should ask, what have we done that our Lord allows this to be done to his holy face? With both hands nailed, the soldiers raise the crossbeam and bring the condemned man to the vertical beam. Since the feet of the condemned are not yet nailed, we can imagine our Lord using his own feet to walk backward to the vertical beam as the soldiers guided the path. The top of the vertical beam wasn't too high. It was low enough so that when the soldiers raised the crossbeam above their heads, the crossbeam would fall into a peg on the vertical beam. We have to remember that crucifixion was a common practice in whatever place the Romans occupied. They would have made it very efficient. They would have perfected the method to make it very easy for them. With our Lord upright on the cross, one soldier took a hold of one foot and positioned the other foot on top of it. Another soldier took a third nail and nailed both feet to the vertical beam. It is done. Now our Lord hangs. He looks like a Passover lamb ready to shed all of his blood for us until it is completely empty, blood separated from its body. He looks like a Passover lamb impaled by wooden skewers that it might be eaten so that the angel of death doesn't touch those who eat it. This is just the beginning of the torture of crucifixion. But we'll end here for this episode and pick it up in seasons 2, 3, and 4. As always, this podcast is brought to you by thecatholictalks.com and kindlingspress.com, where you can read more articles on the Catholic faith and find more books on Catholicism. This has been Joby Provido. I will say goodbye for now, and please join me again next time when we can learn to pray the Rosary better. Bye-bye.